Welcome, guys. What you're about to witness is week 2, day 1 of my off-season program. So we start things off with some warm-up drills that has been programmed from my physio. So this is a variation of a 1990 stretch where I am passively moving through as much range as I can. But the intent here is to almost move one hip at a time. And what I mean by that is, as I'm expressing both internal and external rotation, I'm trying to do that as much as I can with the moving leg. As you see here, I'm moving over to the right hand side and delaying the opposite leg as much as I can. So I'm really just trying to expand within my hips as much as possible, and then also work through that range as I then close the hips once I bring that knee down to the ground. So it's an exercise that I find has really helped recently, but then also it's another exercise that you wouldn't want to look someone directly in the eye when you're doing this, because yeah, there are periods where you are pretty much showing them the goods, and yeah, might be a bit awkward. Then we move on to the side adductions. So I'm using the band for this one just out of convenience. So I'm not moving around the whole gym. Higher repetitions here. I think I was doing 15 reps. Slight pause at the top, just so I can get more engagement from the adductors. Again, another exercise that I've been finding really helps, especially when I had my knee issue. My hip was just almost, I wouldn't even say it was like compromised as of such, but I noticed that I had a lot of discomfort in my hip, my left hip in particular, when I was going through my knee issues. But thankfully, this is all gone now that I've been doing these exercises and been consistent in doing these exercises as well. Then we move on to the elbow cars. So it's kind of like a Zotman curl. If you don't know what that is, basically you're doing both a reverse curl into an eccentric bicep curl essentially. And with doing this, it just again loosens up the muscles, or rather kind of warms up the muscles in and around the elbow joint in particular. Exercise, something that especially like with us powerlifters, where we always kind of keep our joints fixed, could really do with some rotation work. Then you see there's some pronations with the band, again just working into that elbow. Now we start things off with the SSB squat, and all reps were paused. So I'm going 10 kilos up from last week, well, 12 to be specific, because this was a 32 kilo bar. So a set of 10 reps, 130 kilos. It's actually went a lot smoother than I thought, to be fair, even though like this is still working at the lower end of the intensity scale for me. But obviously, because I'm doing a lot of repetitions, and then added to that with the pause, it just makes life even more harder. But with that being said, it's all necessary for me to get stronger. So I found that with this bar as well, that I was able to kind of position it in a way that I am not heavily compromised, because with this bar in particular, the handles are a lot wider, so it could kind of sit a little bit more awkward. You don't necessarily feel like you're as stable as if you had the bars that would have the handles a bit closer to the neck. So yeah, I feel like I finally found a good position to where I can, like I said, maintain form all the way through. Then we move on to deadlifts. So this was a set of 10 reps at 160 kilos. Again, just kind of carrying on with the same technique that I had last week, where I had a slight dead pause at the bottom. So I'm not just doing a touch and go, tapping the plates down to the ground and standing back up. Again, lower back was slightly fatigued going into this one, especially after the squats. So by doing that slight pause at the bottom, I can just almost reinforce using my legs and keeping my lats tighter. So I was able to go through the movement without bothering my lower back even further, especially where I was going heavier than what I did with my squats. Then we move on to the accessories. Good old deficit Bulgarian split squats. And on this day in particular, I've got two of my not so favorite exercises, and it's done back to back as well. So yeah, give it a few seconds and you'll see what exercise that is. Hack squat. Could you imagine doing Bulgarian split squats and then straight away after that doing hack squats? To which I'm both progressing in, by the way. Like, I'm not just trying to keep the weight the same and just do a lot of repetitions. Like with each week, I'm aiming to do always a little bit more. which yeah, just makes me feel so nauseous afterwards. But it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do in order to get stronger. Then we finish things off with the Copenhagen side planks, another staple exercise that I've been using, especially to remedy my knee and hip issue. And yeah, really happy with these, especially where now I'm starting to add movement in this particular exercise. So there you have it, guys. Day one done and dusted. Thank you very much as always for watching. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you all for day two.